Moments with Marianne. I am so delighted we're spending this time here today. Our show today is all about business. Our first guest, Rick Peterson, has coached some of baseball's best pitchers in the past 20 years, including Hall of Famers, and he was Oakland's Athletics pitching coach during the famed Moneyball era. With all of his years of experience, Rick knows what it takes to build a winning team and to develop successful habits. So he's here today to talk to us about his new book, Crunch Time. So let's welcome to the show, Rick.
My pleasure. How are you doing today, Marianne?
Hey, it's such a joy to have you here. You are like the world-class guy when it comes to knowing what to do when the pressure's on.
Well, one of them, because I've been in that pressure situation, especially in New York, for sure.
Oh, I bet. Well, and so I've got to ask you, I mean, your book, is a bestseller, and I want to know what inspired you to write Crunch Time?
Well, that's a great question, and this has really been, kind of like in that conception mode for a long time, and it really started back in 2002 when Michael Lewis came to write an article for the New Yorker magazine on why the Oakland A's, with one of the smallest payrolls in baseball, are having all this success, and the kind of the new way of thinking with statistical probabilities, predictive analysis, and it turned into, he had just come off writing Liar's Poker, and after being in spring training for a few weeks, he called his publisher and said, "Look, this is a bestseller," and they said, "Go for it," and he wrote Moneyball that year. And I had the opportunity to sit next to Michael Lewis for 6 months on the team bus, which was absolutely amazing. And we would have these incredible, really deep discussions about how Moneyball reframed after the book came out, Moneyball reframed the entire baseball business. And in fact, the Wharton School of Business actually has not only a radio show called Wharton Moneyball, but they have a graduate class, Wharton Moneyball. And it's really all about those whole Moneyball concepts. But we would talk about, how people perform their best under pressure. And that was a constant theme of a lot of our conversations, because the pressure of the Oakland A's to continue to perform with one of the lowest payrolls, was enormous. And the expectation was the fact that we will play in October in the playoffs. And we had to constantly rethink of and reframe how we did business, because we didn't have the money to go out and buy the top players, and not only that, but we didn't have the money to keep our players once they got to free agency. And then fast forward, I went to New York as a Willie Randolph's pitching coach for the New York Mets, and Willie Randolph and I were both let go in June of 2008. And I was under contract through 2009, and I said, you know what, I'm going to just sit out this year. They have to pay me. I'm going to kind of refresh my mind and kind of rejuvenate and do some things I've never done before. So fast forward, I get a phone call from Billy Beane in February. He said, "Rick, you're not going to believe this, but they're doing a movie on Moneyball, and Brad Pitt's playing Yours Truly." I said, "Get out of here." I said, "Are you kidding me?" And he said, "I just got off the phone with Steven Soderbergh, the Academy Award-winning director who did Ocean's 11, 13, Traffic, so on down the line. And he said, Steven would like to talk to you about this movie project." I said, "Yeah, whatever I could do to help out, I'm happy to help out." So I get a call the next day from Steven Soderbergh, and he said, "Rick, I'm calling to offer you the opportunity to be the technical director of Moneyball." I said, "Geez," I said, "I'm all in. I don't know what a technical director does, but I'm all in." I said, what do I do?" So he explained the role of the technical director, and then his version of the movie, which never got done, had over 20 of us playing ourselves. And so he asked me by the time we got off the phone, he said, "How would you like to play yourself in the movie?" I said, "Geez, I play myself in my own movie. I might as well play myself in yours." I said, "I would love to." So I spent 5 months with Steven Soderbergh. I mean, you talk about two brilliant people, Michael Lewis and Steven Soderbergh. And it was a reoccurring theme, how people handle pressure and how they can reframe pressure situations and shift it from a threat to an opportunity. And both of them always said, "Rick, you need to write a book." And I said, "Well, I'm not writing a book about me, and I'm not going to write a book about baseball, but if I can meet the right business writer that has the skill set to really articulate this from business to baseball, or business to sports and sports to business," I said, I would cherish that opportunity. And that's how the whole, that intention being out there, and that's how the whole thing came together. Judd Hoekstra has co-authored a couple books with Ken Blanchard, who's written a zillion bestsellers, business books. And we met and hit it off, and we said, yeah, let's do this. And it was such an incredible learning experience. And so that's what really inspired the book. But I think, the major inspiration with Judd and I together, we really share that philosophy of the quality of a person's life is to truly make a difference in someone else's life. And so it was really like the intent was, let's see if we can bring something to the table from our collective experiences that can really help improve the quality of people's lives. And everybody deals with pressure. Everybody deals with pressure. And this book really gives you a strategy of literally a skill set of how to do it.
Well, and that's one of the many things I appreciated about Crunch Time is that regardless, if you're in sports or you own a corporation or you're an entrepreneur, the lessons here are relatable, in regards to any walk of life.
Totally. I mean, we all have either family, career, financial pressures, and to really learn the strategy. And literally what happens at that pressure situation, it's in every one of our DNAs. Literally, and I'll say it, I don't want to get over technical, but in layman's terms, literally in that face of pressure, and when we're facing fear, worry, and doubt, at that moment of fight, flight, or freeze, it's the base of our brain that's activated. And then cortisol gets shot through your system. Your heart starts racing. Your mind gets really fuzzy and cloudy, and your thoughts are racing. Your heart's beating through your chest. Your palms get sweaty. You get dry mouth. And that's all a result of how our body deals with the physiology of pressure. But if we can literally push the pause button and say, what's my opportunity? And then we shift to the front part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, where we now go into a conscious thinker mode. And then what happens is dopamine gets the hormone dopamine goes through our system. And then we really get excited about this whole opportunity to perform. And we see ourselves as confident. We see ourselves as succeeding under pressure. And then it gives us a strategy of how to deal with pressure effectively.
Now, in your book, you talk about the inner caveman and how to deal with that. Can you expand upon that for our listeners?
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I just mentioned. The inner caveman, we call it the inner caveman. It's the amygdala, which is at the base of your brain. That's your fight or flight or freeze response. And when that gets activated under pressure situations, literally that's what happens. Then dopamine goes through our system, or cortisol goes through our system, and that's the response to our caveman. And if we don't push the pause button and continue on, then we go into this anger mode. And, Steven Soderbergh probably said it best. He said, no one has ever done anything productive in a panic situation or in a really angry situation. And when we can literally learn how to push that pause button and say, okay, wait a second, what's the solution here? What's the problem? And then you get everybody collectively centered around. And that's what team building skills are about. I mean, that's why, during those Moneyball years, we won 102 and 103 games, back-to-back years, which was absolutely incredible. And in the face of losing some of our top players every year, we still look at it as what's our opportunity here. And we acted on that opportunity. And once you're prepared and have the skill set to perform your best under pressure, because the other thing I want to mention, fear, worry, and doubt. People throw that around very loosely. What exactly is fear, worry, and doubt? It's a lack of preparation, a lack of knowledge, a lack of insight, or a lack of talent. So in these pressure situations, when we're faced with this fear, worry, and doubt, if we ask ourselves, am I prepared to do this? Do I have the knowledge to do this? Do I have the talent? Am I confident in my talent to perform right now? And do I have the insights? If the answer is yes to all those questions, then you cut the legs out from under fear, worry, and doubt. It has no place to stand.
So when you're dealing with, let's say, a pitcher that's on the mound and he's like trying to figure out, or when you have in the past, he's trying to figure out, how to go ahead and throw the ball, and maybe he's frozen. You just can't move forward. And it can apply the same way in business. You're meeting with maybe you're meeting with a group of entrepreneurs who are salespeople who have to go out and basically pitch to companies or corporations, but they get that point where they kind of just freeze. What's some of the best advice you can give them?
I think one of the things that we like to talk about is if you can have kind of like a go-to place, and especially a go-to place where you have 2 or 3 things that you can remember in your life that were just incredibly funny, that really made you laugh, like just that belly laugh. Because once you start to laugh, it literally, that's the whole release of dopamine through your system. And when you start to laugh, you start to feel good. You get relaxed. Everybody else around you gets relaxed. And having the ability to laugh at yourself. You know, so like the famous comedy, sitcom of Jerry Seinfeld, those are all comedic reframes. The whole show is about comedic reframes, is what it's about. And it's about looking at uncomfortable situations in our life and then and reframing it and then looking at it differently, and then it becomes like very funny. And I think when you can have, that's a strategy, or maybe you have music that makes you feel really good and relaxed, that puts you in a place, or maybe you have the visualization techniques that you can go to a place, like where you go on vacation, where you literally feel good, whether it's at the beach or in the mountains or, wherever it is. It's these places that really allow you to exhale. And if you can really focus on your breathing and start, because oftentimes when we get in that place, you get really short of breath. And I mean, I've gone to the mound on occasion in the midst of a game. I said, I don't know if you know this, but, you're allowed to breathe in this league.
Mm-hmm.
and he'll start to laugh, and then he starts to breathe and he starts to relax. And I think for me personally as a coach, I try to bring a lot of humor into the teaching coaching moments. And I think also once people realize that setbacks and failures and mistakes, that's all part of the game in life and on and off the field. It's all part of the game. And oftentimes when we have these major setbacks or big mistakes, we go to this place in our mind where it's like, God, I'm so stupid. Like, what was I thinking? Like, I'm an idiot. And if your thoughts were broadcast over loudspeakers for everybody around you to hear them, people would think you're crazy. But we all go to that place. It's a common place to go to. And I would often say as a coach, when pitchers are in that moment, I would say to them, I said, like, if I literally started talking to you the way you're talking to yourself, what would you think of me as your coach? And they start to laugh. They go, geez, what a jerk. Why would you, if you really care about me as a coach, why would you talk to me that way? But it's not okay to be your own worst coach either. And I think once people understand these strategies, and the book was written literally, by Judd and myself, to literally be a handbook. That after you read the first couple chapters, you have 6 chapters of strategies that famous people have used in order to reframe situations to look at the opportunity.
Well, yeah, it's easy to see why you're a highly sought-after coach and keynote speaker because, I've worked with many corporations, and, I mean, you would be a perfect fit to come out and speak to a group of either sales agents or, entrepreneurs in regards to this, because this is something people, regardless what career they're in, they go through. It's that whole anxiety, worry, fear, doubt, all of that.
Yeah, it's part of our daily life, and I think oftentimes when we go through it, people feel like really alone, as if like I'm like the only person who feels this. And I got to tell you, being a major league pitching coach for 15 years, every single pitcher that I've coached in my career, from Pedro Martinez to Tom Glavine to Trevor Hoffman, those are Hall of Famers. Trevor will go to the Hall of Fame next year. These are Hall of Fame, Cy Young Award winners. Every one of these people go through these places of setbacks and fear, worry, and doubt. They just look at it differently. I mean, go back to the Super Bowl. The Patriots are down, 28-3 at halftime, and Tom Brady walks into the locker room, and what's he say? Hey guys, we have the biggest opportunity to have the best comeback win in Super Bowl history. he looked at it as an opportunity. That's how he viewed it. And what makes Tom Brady so great? He doesn't run faster or jump higher or throw better than everybody else. He has a better mind. His mind is in that moment. And when I've met many directors of professional that direct like football games, baseball games, and it's interesting. What do they do like in those moments? That Tom Brady's face during some of those moments, the whole face is filled up on your television screen. Why do they put it on the whole face like that? They want you to look in his eyes and say, what is he thinking and feeling right now? And it's very obvious. There was no panic right there. That was a look of opportunity and a look of determination and confidence that, hey, we can do something really special here, even though it's not going really well right now. And I think when everybody reads these stories, because we all have our sports heroes, almost everybody follows some line of sports to some degree, or entertainment, people who really perform their best in concerts or whatnot, or movies. I mean, that's pressure. That is definite pressure. And everybody goes through that moment, but they have strategies to deal with it effectively. That's the difference.
Or they don't, and they hire people like you to come to their company and talk to them about it.
Well, and that's a great point, Marianne, because I think everybody, like on teams, everybody needs to kind of be there for everybody else and recognize when someone else is going through that, and literally and figuratively, put your arm around that person and say, hey, we've all been there. I mean, that's why as a pitching coach, almost every pitcher that I had the relationship with, when I went to the mound, I would put my hand on their shoulder. Because you draw them into that space, and now in front of 50,000 people, we're in a private room right now. You literally feel like you're in this private space, and then you go to that place.
Yeah. Well, I know you've been touching on reframing in some of the examples that you've been giving here. Is this a skill set that people have to practice over time? Is it just a mindset that they can just learn and shift? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, it's a skill, and literally what it is, it's a skill of looking at a situation and consciously thinking of it in a different way. Ask yourself, how can I see this way? Or when that caveman is activated and we're going into that place, if you say stop and say do I really want to feel about this situation like this? Or how can I look at it differently? What's a different way that I can look at this situation, that I can look at an opportunity? And then once you start to think about it differently, then your actions are different. Then you act differently because your thoughts are going to control everything. Your mind is your master and your body's your servant. Your body's going to follow your mind. So if we can be conscious of our thoughts and create that space in our mind, and once you create that space in your mind, now you have space for solutions. It's not too crowded. But when we stay in that caveman place, we feel like our minds are totally crowded. It's like a closet filled with all your junk. And you open it up and it's you can't even see the walls because all your stuff that you just have so much, junk in there. But once you organize it, it's the same thing as organizing your mind. And we really encourage people, if you have the appetite for it, to have some kind of mindfulness practice. Whether it's a walk where you can really just focus on your breath or something that's really pleasant, whether it's maybe listening to some music that's very relaxing, or a mindfulness practice of doing some kind of breath meditation possibly. Because if you can control your mind, one of the things that Steven Soderbergh used to say, he would say in these pressure situations, he said, you know what, the smartest people in the room are the people with the relaxed minds. And it's learning how to relax your mind. And once you can learn how to, and that's a skill, it's a practice. It's kind of a novel thing to think about. How can I get better at something without practicing it? I'm not so sure that's going to happen. But I think once you know what the skill is, and now you put it into practice. In some of the corporations that I've gone in to do a keynote, or many of them, I should say, on the book and the principles of the book, they literally start to have a different mindset, and they start using the word reframe, and they literally now consciously have a strategy to where they say, wait a second, let's reframe this. Let's get our creative minds around here and let's reframe it. When you look at, for example, one of the examples in business, if you go back years ago, AOL started a company to to sell basically internet access. Well, Google came along and said, their CEO reframed that whole space. He said, we'll give you internet access for free. We're going to sell advertising. They totally reframed that industry. And AOL isn't even close to what Google is right now.
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at, and when you look at the technology, all the technology businesses, I mean, technology has a shelf life of about 12 to 18 months. So if you don't start reframing whatever technology that you're already selling right now, you're obsolete. You're dead. You're dead. Your company's dead. So it's constantly having that space of innovation. But when you're in that space of innovation, you know for sure that setbacks and failures they're going to happen. They're going to happen because when you start to innovate, you're not going to get it right the first time. Very seldom do you ever get it totally right the first time. So it's almost reframing a mistake or pressure or a setback. To reframe a mistake or setback is literally to say, let's look at this as a learning moment. One of the short little blurbs we talk about in the book was Tom Watson when he was the CEO of IBM. In the midst of one of these big business cycles, one of his top employees, made a mistake, and it cost the company $10 million of business. So Tom Watson said, I'd like to see you in my office tomorrow. So when the gentleman walked in, he said, I guess you're either going to fire me or you're asking for my resignation. And Tom started laughing. He goes, are you kidding me? He says, we just invested $10 million in you. He goes, why would we let you go now?
Well, and, I really like how you talk about reframing because it really takes away the blame. So people can look at things objectively and look at solutions.
You're exactly right. And I think one of the things that I've learned as a coach, let me also qualify this. In order to be a successful coach, you have to be a successful teacher or a successful student. And you're a student of the people that you're coaching. And so often you hear people say, you know what, I'm going to treat, as a leader, they say, I'm going to treat our people the way that I want it to be treated. Nobody cares about how you want to be treated. You need to treat the people you're leading the way that they need to be treated. And everybody has their individual needs and collective needs. And once people know, it's a cliche that we always say that people really don't know, that really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them. And when you come from that place, and you really come from a place of why you're doing what you're doing, not what you're doing, and then you come from a much, much higher space, and then everything else falls into place, because the intention is to really make a difference in other people's lives. And once that intention, in a quality way, and once that intention is there, everybody collectively knows that. And then it becomes a place where people enjoy working together because we know that, there's a compassion there for when people make mistakes or have setbacks. There's a compassion built into it. I mean, again, the tolerance is like we can't keep making the same mistake now, okay? Mm-hmm. let's come up with new ones.
Well, and a lot of times when new mistakes happen, it really is a teaching moment because you can look at where management or leadership not so much has failed, but where they need to excel on.
Right, exactly. I mean, what can we do? There's an Eastern term called Kaizen, and it means continuous improvement. That at the end of every cycle, you have to step back and say, all right, let's evaluate this process. What can we do to improve this? As good as we were this year, as successful as we were this year, what can we do to get better? Because then what happens, as we talk about in the book, it's about in these situations, if you can just slightly beat your average performance, you don't have to be like from 1 to 10, if 5 is your average. We don't need to be at 10 to be the best that we've ever been in our life in these situations. If we could be just a little bit better than we were, let's say we're a 6, a little bit better than what our average is, and then in that scale, 6 now becomes the new 5. And then if we can keep getting a little bit better and be in that growth mindset that we keep like getting to 6s, now what that 6 is now, 4 years later, 5 years later, was a 10 back 5 years ago. And that's being in that growth mindset and understanding that when you're in a growth mindset, you invite change. And once you invite change, the change begins within. It's not external. You're not trying to change the environment. You're trying to change who you are. And once you can change who you are and how you think, feel, and act, now your mind is going to get more relaxed, and you start to see things in a real creative, innovative way, in a new way.
I like the way you said that, Rick. That is, and it's such a perfect way to kind of end the show, because I think that people really do want to achieve better results in business, and there's other ways to do it, and you're on the leading edge of showing people how that can be done. So
it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
So if everybody listening could check out rickpetersoncoaching.com, rickpetersoncoaching.com, and one of my favorite quotes to kind of wrap things up, it's a reframing a Yogi Berra quote. Performing your best under pressure is 90% mental, and the other half is physical. Ask yourself what's your opportunity and be the best of who you are.
I love it. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today with us, Rick.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully this message can help people, look at things a little bit differently and seek out those opportunities.
Oh, without a doubt. And you want to make sure to pick up Crunch Time by Rick Peterson. It's available at all major retailers, and of course go visit his website, rickpetersoncoaching.com. We're going to pause here for a quick break, and we will be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 1-2-3 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
This is Jennifer McGill. My highly anticipated new album, Unbreakable, is now available at jennifermcgill.com. Everything from power ballads to high-energy jam-out-in-your-car songs. I used my highest joys and deepest pains to create empowering songs of love, strength, healing, and restoration so that you can be unbreakable too. Get your copy of Unbreakable today from jennifermcgill.com. Because who doesn't want to be unbreakable?
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. So our next guest is here today to talk to us about growing your business. Donna Evans uses her extensive corporate, higher education, and nonprofit experience in strategic planning, career coaching, human resources, organizational development, community, and business advancement. She is the go-to person when it comes to how to elevate your business. She's been a keynote speaker and led training and development workshops on various topics for leaders. Founder of the Phoenix Group Partners, Donna realizes that entrepreneurs are some of the most hardworking, talented, and dedicated leaders, but they struggle and fail to thrive. So Donna has made it her passion and purpose to help you grow your business. So let's welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you. I am thrilled to be speaking with you.
Hey, I'm so glad we're spending this time together. We've known each other for some time here and there, and you are just the dynamo as far as getting people to move their business to the next level.
Yes, it's been a wonderful experience to see so many people having such incredible results.
You gotta love that.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, and I know you from the Women's Chamber here in Colorado, and we've kind of known each other a little bit from that. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your background?
Okay. I was recruited out of college to work at Storage Tech, which is a large mainframe IT computer company here. And I worked both in human resources and then there as a marketing manager. I then went into higher education, where I was responsible for community outreach, public policy, organizational development, and employee training for hundreds of employees on 5 campuses. My most recent position was with the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce, and I was the president there for 9 years. And that really is where I got my heart for working with entrepreneurs. You know, it really is one of the most challenging things they'll ever do, and it's the one where they have zero support. So that's why I launched my business. If I could make a difference, I knew I could make a difference to that group of people.
Well, and I think you're being a little modest, too, as well, because I know that you have been awarded CEO of the Year, an Outstanding Woman in Business, an Extraordinary Woman. So you've gotten these accolades that talk a lot about not just who you are as a person, but also your abilities.
Yes, thank you. It's always wonderful to be recognized for the work that you do. And I'll tell you that I've had the opportunity just to make a difference in a lot of people's lives in my career. And that's what gets me up in the morning. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. You know, it's fun to get the accolades, but it's more, I think it's more, it just says a lot more about what those accolades mean and what they represent, and a lot of times people kind of forget that, achieving some of these things, it really means that there's a certain level of dedication and work that's been done, especially within the community and with women.
Yes, and I served on hundreds of boards, which has given me an opportunity to work in more of a broader way as well. And, I think many people don't realize what a small group of dedicated people working together, how they can change a community, how they can change a state, and how they can change individuals. So it really has been a wonderful experience.
Well, I know at this point in time there seems to be a lot of people who are making the shift to entrepreneurism. And there's some, very interesting stats that go with that as well. I know you and I had been chatting a little bit earlier in regards to how many people, percentage of how many of entrepreneurs actually meet that 6-figure income they're all looking to achieve.
Yes, when I did the original research and found that less than 6% of entrepreneurs ever make 6 figures, frankly, I was shocked. I know so many hardworking business owners, and to realize that very few of them ever make the kind of money they need to support themselves and their business is tragic to me, for sure. And that's why I do the work that I do, because if they can't support themselves and their business, they cannot do the greatness that they need to do in the world. So I take them from where they are, whether they're at startup or they've been in business for many, many years, and help them really to grow to the next level.
And you work specifically with entrepreneurs?
I do. I've got some executive clients, at several corporations, but really my main business is working with business owners who have not yet achieved six figures in net. So we all know there's a big difference between gross and net, and so that really is, my sweet spot as far as my ideal client, helping them to really get to a point that their business is humming and they're doing well financially.
Yeah, I've known a lot of entrepreneurs that may have made six figures, but their actual net is not that. So it's a big difference. Your business awakes to what you make, because you have to consider all the expenses and all the things that come with running a business.
Right, absolutely. And many people start businesses not realizing that it's going to take them some money to get started, and that makes it very difficult. If they need to start bringing in money in 3 months and they have no way to really grow their business, it becomes pretty difficult. So I do work with a lot of executives who are leaving the corporate office and starting their own businesses. And it's wonderful because that's what I did. When I left the chamber, I'd always worked in pretty large organizations and started my own firm. Well, there are things that, except for my work with other business owners, I would not have known otherwise really how to structure and grow a business like this.
Well, and so what are some of the major mistakes that you see that keep entrepreneurs from, being successful and finding their right clients that they're looking to attract?
Well, one of the biggest things I find when I'm talking to business owners who are struggling with client attraction is they usually are not spending enough time. That's usually the number one mistake I see. And if a business is in startup, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, but if they are not yet making enough money to support themselves and their business, they are in startup. And really, if you are in startup mode, you need to spend at least 50% of your time in active client attraction. And active client attraction is not social media, website, any of those type things. It really is developing relationships. And if you can start your business by developing relationships and building a good base of people who know about what you do and you serve them, then your business can move on to do other types of marketing. But, number one, I see not enough time. The second one is they sit behind their computer doing things, but really it is not active client attraction. Many of them do not know how to get out in front of their ideal client so that they're known as an expert in their field. So I teach that as a part of my year-long mastermind program. And then one of the big ones is many people do not learn how to sell. Very few of us got into business to be salespeople, but the reality is if you cannot do sales, especially at the beginning, it's going to be very difficult for you to grow your business. So being able to learn how to do sales, close your clients easily, really knowing who your ideal client, all of those will help you quite a bit to grow your business.
Okay. I think those are all really good. That's really good information and tips for people who are thinking about making that transition from being an entrepreneur and getting into business. What is the number one single reason that entrepreneurs struggle to get clients? It's like they just don't get in front of them. Is that the main key that we were just talking about, or is there more to that piece?
Well, actually, it's two parts. The first is being able to identify who your ideal client is, and we call that your niche. When I talk to business owners who say to me, well, everybody is my audience. Well, I know pretty quickly that the odds of them failing are pretty high because it's impossible to market to everybody. And so the first thing I do is help them to identify who is their ideal client. So you narrow the niche and who you're going to serve. You then can do so many things after that. You can develop your messaging and your marketing, so that when you are speaking to a group of people, your ideal client can hear what specifically you can do for them. So it's very attractive to them. And so knowing who is your ideal client. And then the second thing is many entrepreneurs pick 6 or 7 different methods in order to attract business. And it's really impossible for you to do that well. So I recommend that you pick 3 different methods, whether that's you do maybe referral-based, word of mouth, strategic pursuit, where you go after specific clients. And really it is pick the 3 methods where your ideal clients are and do those regularly. And the more you do those, the faster your business will grow. So really cutting out the things that do not work is a big one.
That's so important. I think a lot of times, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, that business owners, new business owners especially, will spend time, a great deal of time on things that don't really equate to bringing business in or managing their business well. And so it's nice to have someone like you that can walk them through the steps. And I know you kind of touched on this a little bit. You have this year-long program where you work with people to get them to that next level.
Yes, and the beauty of that is, I did training for many years when I was in higher ed, and of course all the work I did with leaders at the chamber. It's pretty easy to learn something in a workshop setting. The hard part is implementation. And so what the beauty of my program is, not only do they learn the skill, but I walk with them as they implement the skill in their business. And that's really how change happens. And so you have, one of the things that I hear from a lot of business owners is they feel very isolated, like they're the Lone Ranger. They have no one to talk to. And so in my mastermind group, you've got, a number of business owners all working on the same skills who are supporting each other. And it really does create community. And it's important to have community, especially as you're running your own business. And what I know is the longer people stay, within themselves, a lot of home-based businesses, thinking, the less their business grows. And the more they can get out, see other business people being successful, learn new skills, start to see their success, that energizes them to continue on to grow their businesses.
Yeah, there are so many groups that talk about having, so many books that talk about having a mastermind group that helps move you along. It's so great that you have that select people that you work with. And one of the things I have known about you and appreciate about you. Now, I know also that you talk about how to generate a lifetime of clients. And sometimes for people, they hear that and they're like, yeah, right, that's right up there with 6-minute abs. So I know you have a no-fail 3-step process for doing that, and I'd love for you to share some of that with us.
So the good news is running and growing a business is formulaic. So once you know the formula and you follow the formula, your business continues to grow. And this happens regardless of the type of business. So the first, of course, is to attract attention. And we talked about how important it is to know who your ideal client is and pick the correct method to attract them and stick with your top 3. So attract is number 1. The second one is bond. Being able to do business with people that you know, like, and trust is at the top of the list with most people. So being able to build, know, like, and trust. And a lot of that has to do with listening. So when you're having a conversation with someone and they're interested or they need a product or service that you have, the majority of the time you should be spending listening. And frankly, in our society, listening is a lost art. Very few people listen to anyone anymore. So spending time listening, asking questions, do you get to know what are the pain points that this person is experiencing, and as you're listening and asking them what's going on, and for me, I want to know how long have they been in business? Have they ever made the kind of money they're hoping for? What are the areas in which they struggle? Because then I can talk with them very specifically about ways that I can help them. So you spend the majority of your time listening. You then have the opportunity to speak to what you can do to help them. And then the last one is C is for close. And I really want to say choice. So what you want to do is give people the opportunity to choose to do business with you. And how you do that is getting to know them, building trust, knowing that you have a product or service that will help them, and offering it to them in such a way that they feel compelled that they want to do business specifically with you. So So once you have that, you are good to go.
Well, and I know from just knowing you as a person and the work that you do that you get tons of referrals just because you follow your 3-step process. So I would doubt that you would even need to do any advertising, and with this kind of template, any of your clients would have to do much advertising either.
Well, and that's very, very true, especially when you are in startup or mid-range. Your business is mid-range. It's starting to support you in your business, but you're really, you and your business, yes, but you're just not quite where you want to be. Most of the marketing you do is costs you very, very little. Finding the right networking groups, making sure you're getting in front of the right people. As your business grows and you have an established reputation, that's when you really dig in and do social media. You make sure that you have offerings on your website. You may want to do advertising or a mail campaign. But many of those things are too early for a lot of first and second stage business owners.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'd like for you to go in a little bit more detail for our listeners because, gosh, you're providing such great value here. Why stop, So what is the best, of all the stuff that you've seen and your experience, what is the best methods of attracting clients that's working today in today's environment?
So I would say, especially if you, like I said, in first or second stage business, building your business through networking, getting out in front of people to speak is a wonderful way to help a lot of people get to know who you are and what you have to offer. Once your business starts to grow and you have proof of concept, meaning that people are paying you for your services, then referrals are gold. Really, really good. And if you can get your clients to refer you, especially to their family and friends and those that they meet, that means that you don't have to be out there marketing. So that's a really great, something to really work toward. So those really are the top ones. Strategic alliances are very good as well. So a strategic alliance is when you make a connection with a business whose clients need you and your clients need them. So you may want, a person who's a graphic designer would probably have great relationships then with web people and with writers. And so, those would be wonderful strategic alliances. So determining what your clients need. My clients, they tend to need bookkeepers. They need graphics people for websites. They need writers. And so I have a group of strategic alliances where they refer clients to me and I then refer clients to them. You basically multiply your marketing effort that way, and it costs you no money.
It just makes it easy to then get those referrals because people know who you are. They've been working with you for a period of time, and gosh, it just grows from there. I'm sure it mushrooms out at some period of time.
It does. It really, really does.
Now, okay, so we've got that in place, and we've got that down. So, and you talked about this a little bit earlier about closing. So a lot of times people who do business do not like to sell. They don't like to sell their services. They just magically want the unicorn customer to appear and buy all their stuff, without having to really talk to them in regards to selling. So what are some ways that people can easily close clients?
So first of all, we talked about the importance of being able to build a relationship. That's number one. Especially if you are selling a high-priced offering, a lot of times you need to spend more time in building that relationship. So knowing how you build know, like, and trust is very important. Another thing that I think is very helpful is to have more than one offering. Because if you have more than one offering, people have a choice in which options they want to do business with you. So I think the close is very much about choice. And so basically, here, I'll give you an example. So let's say you've had the opportunity to get to know someone, you've listened to them, you know that what you have to offer them will help them. So after you then outline your offerings to them, you may want to say, if you were to do this with me, which of these options would suit you best? So what you're doing is you're giving them a choice. So they're looking at your offerings and they're making a choice in which one they'd like to do. Then ask, great, and if you decide to move forward, when would you like to start? So this is another opportunity for them to think about their calendar, what's happening in their life and in their business. When would be a good time for them to start with you? So what you've done is you've now brought them 2 steps closer to the close. They've chosen the offering, they've chosen when they want to start working with you, and you say, perfect. Now, if you're not sure they're quite there with you, you may want to ask, so is this something you want to move forward with? And what's wonderful about that question is whenever people do anything new, there is almost always fear involved. Excitement, but there's always fear. And so if you give them an opportunity to tell you the things that what is making them hesitate, a lot of times it's they know what they've done in the past, even though they're not getting the results they're hoping for, at least they are comfortable with what they've done in the past. So what you are doing in many ways is you're being a fierce friend with them. You're helping them to see that, they know that they want to make some kind of a change in their life. You are giving them opportunity to do that with you. And so when you ask that question, it gives them the opportunity to tell you anything that may be why they're hesitating. So once you've talked through those things with them, you can then, next step is to reassure them. Reassure them that what you're going to do for them will meet their needs and that they will be better tomorrow after they've worked with you than they were today. And that's the big goal. So you reassure them. And then the last thing you ask them, again a choice, is how would you like to pay for that? Some people are nervous about asking for payment, but when you think about it, that it really is just another choice. And you can give them some options. PayPal has 6 months no interest. With Square, they can pick the payments that they want. So really giving them some options around that so that they make another choice. And the goal there is to get the payment on the spot if possible. Because we all know you don't have a client until you've got the payment.
Yeah, and a signed contract.
There you go, and a signed contract, absolutely.
The only reason I bring that because we were chatting about that earlier, and so I just had to interject. Now, my next question it's kind of twofold here. So, okay, initially you also talk about a client generation system. So for a lot of people, they're probably going, what the heck is that? And I know that you work with people in tailor-making their own unique client generation system. So why don't you explain a little bit, first of all, what is that? How would that help my business? And then, how is it even possible to create one?
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the niche. That's probably the most important thing, and one of the areas that many, many business owners struggle with is really landing on who is my ideal client. So doing the work, identifying who your ideal client is, then you can put together what is the messaging. So what will resonate with that ideal client? So I'll give an example. My ideal client is a service-based business owner, and as I said, who's not yet netted 6 figures. That's a very narrow niche, but when you think about it, it's a really broad group of people who fit within that. And so that is a perfect niche. So landing on your niche and coming up with your messaging, these are things you do once. At the beginning of your business or when you get to a point where you know you need to do it, you do that once.
Now I'm going to interrupt real quick. So let's say someone thinks they know what their niche is. Do you work with people to help them discover that?
Yes, I do. Okay. And frankly, until you really land hard on your niche, it's very, very difficult for you to see significant growth. So I always do that first. Before we start doing anything is make sure that all of my clients have landed hard on their niche. Until then, we can't do much of anything else, frankly. If you're too broad and you're trying to market to the world, you just can't get enough frequency. If you have a narrow niche and you know where those potential clients are, you speak the language that's compelling to them, it's much easier for you to grow with your ideal client. Not only that, it fits in whatever it is that you're offering. If you take folks who are outside of your ideal client, usually you're having to do things differently than you need to do with other folks who are your ideal clients.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning, some businesses do need to take folks who don't fit within that ideal client, but once their business starts to grow, they can really focus only on that type of person. So you've got your ideal client, the profile of that, you've got your messaging. We talked about picking the top 3 methods for you to attract those clients. That will not change, or doesn't change significantly, frankly, over the lifetime of your business. Next is knowing how you build the bond, the know, like, and trust, right? And then getting sales training, being able to easily close someone. So one of the things I work on with my clients is to know what their close rate is. And a close rate is the number of people who you need to talk to in order for one of them to buy from you. So an example might be, let's say you wanted 5 new clients the next 30 days. And you have discovered that your close rate is 5 to 1. You have to talk to 5 people before one person will close. So that means you have to have 25 bonding conversations in order for you to have those 5 new clients in the next 30 days. That's why I say so much about business development is formulaic. And once you know what your close rate is, it helps you not to get discouraged. Let's say you talk to the 3rd person who said no, and you know that you need to talk to 5 people before one closes with you. It really does help you to stay on track, know it's a part of the formula, and not to get discouraged. And then when your businesses start to really grow, then we move into power moves. And that is, I was working with a client today whose business has grown so exponentially, he no longer can service and run his business in the way that he has done in the past. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll sit down and we'll make a list of those things that really he does not have to touch. Mm-hmm. And we then will put together some kind of a profile so that he can hire a contractor or someone to come in to do the pieces that really he does not need to do. And then we'll look at automation. What are the best automation techniques for your business as you grow so that you continue in growth? So I see a lot of business owners who come to a point where their business is growing, has really got to the point where their practice in whatever they're doing is almost full. And then they start to decline. And the reason for that is they begin to burn out. It's impossible to keep up that kind of pace 24/7 all the time. So unless they get relief, businesses that don't do anything at that really critical juncture begin to decline. And so it's important that you make the kinds of decisions in your business at the right time so that your growth continues and you've got a pipeline of business coming in.
Well, and what great advice that is, because you do get to a point where the scales tip. And then it's nice to know that you have someone you can work with that will go ahead and help get you to that next level, because at some point there's only so much one person can do or 2 people can do.
Right. And many of my clients want to move from being a solopreneur, one-person shop, to being an entrepreneur, which means that they can go on vacation and still get paid. So that's a pretty good goal, don't you think?
Those are always great goals, you know. Love doing work from Hawaii. Who doesn't love doing that,
there
right?
You go. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, and so, someone's making all these, let's say someone gets in touch with you and they decide to go ahead and move forward and start working. How long, because I know that you're pretty booked up, how long do you have like a waiting list for people to work with you, or is it someone that they can do like an interview to see if it's a good fit? How do you work with people?
What I do is I will schedule a 45-minute strategy session with them so I can do a business assessment to understand where they are and where they want to be. I can determine, the ways that I can help them. And so that's the entry really into any of my programs, is for us to spend some time together. I wanted to be a fit for them on all levels. And, I will be their wingman for a year. And so we need to make sure that, in fact, they're ready for that, that they're ready for growth, and that, that if they know, the thing about running a business, a lot of times you get to a point where you have exhausted everything you know. And so you can only grow to what you know. And as a business coach, what I do is I give them the things they don't know. And so, looking at ways that we'll work together and what their goals are. So that's the best thing, is to set up a time with me that we'll do an assessment and really talk through how they're hoping to grow their business, what they want it to be. We talk about what is their exit plan. We do an exercise where 3 years from now, what do you want your business to look like? Because I have known business owners to grow a business that they ultimately did not like. We don't want to ever do that, right?
No, not unless they're looking to grow it and to sell it and retire, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have these people who come to me with that as a goal. But just so you know coming in what it is that you want, and if you don't, I can help you to build that plan.
To decide what it is. Well, and a lot of times it takes a really good strategist such as yourself to be able to kind of go through all of those options and really decide what you really want. Because, it could be difficult. I know a lot of people get into business thinking, I just want to make a lot of money. And it requires a lot more planning than that.
Especially if they came from working inside organizations. Many new business owners who came from more of an executive or corporate type of life don't have a real good handle on what it takes to run a business. It's very, very different than what they're coming from. They are the content expert. They're the expert in their field, but they may not be an expert in running and growing a business. And that's the biggest challenge I see most of them face, is they think it's going to be one way, and when they get in, they realize that it's not, and they may or may not have the expertise in sales, in business development, in marketing, and all the hats that you wear as a business owner. You may not be skilled in all of those, and then what do you do, right? So being able to have someone walk with you is pretty important.
Yeah, so that way you can make those business decisions, not get emotionally attached, and really kind of decide what's the best route to take, because there's so many different directions a business can go in, and we always want it to go up.
Right, and what happens is you're working so hard on your business, you're really focused in the weeds, right? You're looking at all the tasks that need to be done, you're running pretty fast, and strategy is something that does not even occur to most people. Being able to look up and see the direction in which they're going, and that's why it's nice to have outside eyes. Especially people who, run businesses and know how to create the type of business they're hoping for. It's just nice to have someone that takes the guesswork out.
So, Donna, gosh, we're kind of almost at the end of our time here. What last thoughts do you have for our entrepreneurs out there, or people who are thinking about, maybe moonlighting and doing a business? What kind of thoughts do you have for them?
Well, the first thing I did when I started my business was I hired a business coach. And I will tell you, my business skyrocketed. And my clients, their businesses are all doing significantly better than when they came. And so what I would say is, don't feel like you have to do it all. If you're working in an organization, you have a role. As a business owner, you have 15 roles. And it's very, very difficult to do them all well. And so the number one thing I would say is ask for help. Don't feel like when you ask for help, it means that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you're a smart business person. And I'll tell you, those 6% of entrepreneurs who are in the six figures, they all have people who are helping them strategize and help them to build their business. So that would be my number one. My second one is really make sure you don't get discouraged. Running a business is not for sissies.
It's really, there's no crying in business, yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, it will take every single thing within you to be successful, and the reward is worth it. And so knowing why it is that you want to have your own business, whether it's flexibility, being able to make the kind of money you want, you're passionate about what you do, all of those are wonderful reasons to have your own business. And just knowing, eyes wide open going in, that it's going to take some serious effort and time, a bit of time for you to hit your stride.
Mm-hmm. Well, it does take a good amount of dedication, and you know, it's something people really need to think about and think all the way through. And thank goodness we have people like you that can help strategize for what that future could be. Because without planning, you have to plan. Otherwise, you plan for failure.
Right. Right.
So, gosh, Donna, you know what? Thank you so much for being here with us. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
I will give you my email address. It's donna@phoenixgrowthpartners.com. And it's Phoenix without the O. It's PHENIX, Phoenix Growth Partners. And my website is phoenixgrowthpartners.com.
You know, Donna, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today and share your insights. We so greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the work that you do. It's so important, and I count this as a privilege to have the opportunity to talk to you today.
Oh, well, thank you. My goodness, what a joy it's been. You know, if you'd like to connect with Donna, again, you could do that at phoenixgrowthpartners.com. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.